listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. We have a return guest. It's the return of Nicole Weller. You met her a couple of weeks ago. She's in North Carolina, one of the top teachers in all of American golf, Massachusetts native, good player, author. But one thing that we just didn't have time to get into, which is something I really want to talk about and get our geek on here, is golf psychology, the mental side of the game. Now, we've talked about this before with Dr. Bob Winters, but I wanted another perspective, and I wanted a female perspective on this. Now, I've been a big fan of golf psychology since my teen years, and I will tell you, when I do a meditation program before I play golf, a round of golf, or like when I play good golf, that's what I do prior to it. And when I play rush golf and just go out there and just kind of smack it around for a couple holes and make a couple bogeys or a double bogey to start, I get really annoyed with myself. But then I look back and said, if I had taken the time to do a little pre-gaming with meditation and hypnosis, it would have made a massive difference. So we're going to talk to Nicole Weller about what she does for that, how she advises her students, and how you can put that into your game. Before we go any further, remember to subscribe to Party Time, My Golf Story, and like it. Leave some notes behind, because that makes a big deal to the dorks at YouTube and also Apple, Spotify, all the listening platforms. And for those that have already done that, really appreciate it. All right. And a big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer or something else, a hard seltzer that's not getting the job done anymore, try a Party. For golfers, by golfers, the best, smoothest vodka around, and also handcrafted rum as well. And if you're in the market to buy a new home, or you're looking to sell a home, especially in the greater Sarasota area, nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of Fine Properties. And it's a good time to buy because the market is a little bit soft, and there is inventory at Lakewood National Golf Club, which is the premier golf resort community in the Sarasota area. Okay, so enough of that. Let's bring Nicole on board here. Say hello to her. Nicole, what's going on? It's good to see you again. So when I reached out, I said, hey, are you up for talking about golf psychology? That was something that made you feel good. So let's go back to the beginning. When did you know that golf psychology was a thing?
Well, thank you for having me back on the show. Love this topic. You know, I went through a lot of amateur golf, national amateur golf, played at Wake Forest. And then when I'm about to graduate, I'm like, gosh, what am I going to do? You know, going into the future, do I want to play golf? And I'm like, I don't think I'm done with school yet. So I have a psychology undergrad, but then I was like, I'm going to go into some sports psychology and a master's degree. So I looked at going at UVA with Dr. Rotella or Dr. Coop at Chapel Hill. And I actually ended up with Dr. Risberg and Beidel over at UT Knoxville. So just by, right after college, actually, we did a little bit of some activities at Wake Forest. We never worked with a sports psychologist. Dr. Winter did come and visit our team once, though. That was really cool. So right about as I was graduating into grad school, that's when I started, and love going into that program. It has more of a specifics on motor skill learning, how a person actually learns a skill. But it was the start of the whole thing there at UT Knoxville in the mid-90s.
Well, let's go back to Wake Forest, though. Like, what was whatever little amount of golf psychology was going on, other than Dr. Bob? Do you remember what he said? When
he was there, we did a drill called thought stopping. And so we had the the older facility, we didn't have the wonderful Diane Daly indoor building. We had that small Jesse Haddock Center, which was cool at that point. It was really high tech back then. But we were working around that building and we worked on thought stopping. So if at any point that somebody on the team inadvertently said something negative, we could all yell stop and bring that to attention. And then we had to flip it. And so it was amazing how often, those negative comments came up without us realizing, because we're kind of conditioned to say that. So we worked on some thought stopping. Diane did some little activities with us. She'd have us go out and play with 2 clubs. But I remember us doing some drawing sometime. There was one day she brought paper in and little activities, and we were drawing and like, oh, this is the fairway, and just bringing our attention to what's going on. But I'll never forget her telling me, she goes, Nicole, I can tell how you're playing 2 fairways over just by watching how you walk and just how you're carrying yourself. So that kind of made an impression too,
So I thought I would tell you, I told you off the air when I really became convinced of the value of taking a deeper dive in golf psychology. When I was a junior golfer in Pennsylvania, we had a guest speaker come to an event, and it was Jay Hardwick, the longtime men's golf coach at Virginia Tech. And he told this story, and I'm wondering if it was Dr. Bob Rotella, but it was a psychologist who was an avid golfer, and he knew the value of better concentration, but he wanted an example of, well, how can I show this working with somebody? So he found himself somebody who was a great athlete, who had never played golf before, had never seen it before, had no preconceived notion about what it is or how difficult it could be. And for 6 months, he lived with him at his house. He was shown film of the best golfers in the world. Film. So this is back in the 70s, not videotape, not digital stuff like we have today. He was shown the basic fundamentals. Psychologist said this is the proper grip. He was shown film of putts rolling in, and the constant reinforcement was positive, positive, positive. Golf is easy. Golf is easy. Now, he did hit some balls into a net in the garage, but he never saw the results of that. So all he had was this positive reinforcement. And then he went out on the golf course for the first time with the psychologist and his buddies. First 9 holes he played, he shot 36, which
That's
blew
amazing.
me away. So I'm like, if that could work for a guy that's never played golf, how about somebody that's pretty good at golf? Give me some of that stuff.
I agree. It's almost like the church lady in SNL, or standing in front of the mirror with positive affirmations.
Right. It's like, give me some of that. So I'll have what he's having. I'll have what she's having. It was, and so then I started listening to some audio tapes, and I think they may have been like from Dr. Bob Rotella, and they made a massive difference for me because I started visualizing shots before I hit them. Do you remember when you started incorporating like the psychology into, walk me through a round where you knew you were using whatever it is that you were learning, you applied it and it worked?
So good question. I'm a very big proponent of the mental golf profile by Bobby Foster. He takes kind of the DISC program and he turns it into golf lingo. It's really neat. I've done presentations with it and use it with a lot of my students. So I learned my style as a golfer, and I tend to be very laid back and very detail oriented. So I can get too laid back. So I was playing in maybe 2008 at the National LPGA Teaching Championship, and it was at Pinehurst 8. And the first year that I played there, I played really great, made some money, was in the Titleist pool, had a great year. Next year I went back, and the first 9, I shot a 41. And I'm like, wow, I just gave up a week of teaching. I'm spending expenses. If this is going to continue like this is no bueno, right? So I stood there and I go, oh, you're doing it again. I said, I need you to step up there. And I was like snapping at myself. I'm like, get up there, hit this 8-iron on the green, and let's go. And so I spoke to myself more in a firm tone. And I just said, let's get this done. I was very processed and very quick on what I was doing. I turned it around and shot like a 36 on the back. And so to me, it was just being aware of what's going on. So that's really affected me. And I try to bring that to my students as awareness. And also appreciation. Appreciation is a great way to kind of get back into the big picture.
Well, was that a stern talking to you gave to yourself?
Yes, it wasn't quite like, Bobby Knightish, not quite that intense, but it was firm for me. I'm not like a real in your face type person, but I was a good, firm coach to myself. And I got up there and I just gave myself, hey, listen, here's what I need. Go do it. Here we go. So I was very committed to the shot, and I just kind of got on myself in a good way. But I knew that I needed that.
Right. You needed to snap out of it. I think we all do it in different ways, whether it's calmly to yourself or
Mhm.
something like Jordan Smith. Jordan,
Mhm.
when he loses it a little bit. I don't
Mhm.
know if that shakes him into it, but I caddied with somebody who was, or caddied for somebody who was Mark Hubbard's caddy on the PGA Tour. And I asked him about being around Jordan Spieth and all the talking that he does. And he said, he just said, Jordan is just a nervous person and he has to talk it out. So all
Mhm.
those conversations you hear between him and Michael Greller, that's just his way of
Mhm.
dealing with his nerves. I think the biggest nerves meltdown I've ever seen was Jean Van de Velde at the British Open back in 1999. Do you remember it?
I do. I actually went back to take a quick peek at it because it obviously it's been a while. But yeah, that was a pretty good meltdown. My husband, who's a PGA member, and we went to Carnoustie, but that was later after that, 2010, I think. So yeah, watching that go down. Dr. Rick Jensen, somebody I really admire, and I brought him into the landings for a presentation after seeing him at summits. He always said, "Luck plus skill equals result." And on that hole, unfortunately, I think there was a lot of bad luck that kind of shoved the equation more into that side with not as much skill allowed for the result. But yeah, that was pretty epic. Hitting driver off the tee, was that a good decision? Hitting a 2-iron out of that mess on the second shot. And then obviously trying to figure out, what he was doing around the burn there. Made a great putt at the end. I don't know if I could have made that putt after all of that, but yeah, that was. I mean, it looked like he and his caddy were discussing it, but he went with some of those decisions, and ultimately it's the player's decision. But maybe reassessing some of those club choices, and the options, kind of coming down the stretch there.
It was hard to watch, but it was wildly entertaining. You couldn't take your eyes off of it. But you tell me, Nicole, if you were on his bag, if you were caddying for him, what might you have said as it was happening?
I might have said, if I had known what his tendency was to say, all right, we need to actually chill out here, versus some people need to get pumped up, and maybe he needed to chill out. I don't know his style, but I would have said, let's talk about the choices again on the club. What are our options? Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Who would have known he would have hit the grandstand and it ricocheted back into the burn there? But I would have definitely looked at the club choice a little bit more. He looked calm. I don't know, how he was feeling on that, but definitely club choices, playing for the open spots. I think all he needed to make was a 6, right? So figuring out the best and the worst case scenario, and then maybe playing in the middle of it.
Nicole Weller is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizicaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. If you're looking to buy, it is a good time to buy, especially around Lakewood National, or sell. Same thing. Gene and Vince can help you out. And if you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Got a whole shelf of them behind me. I might have one when I'm done talking to Nicole. Nicole, tell me about this. When your students come to, first of all, how often does somebody come to you and say, I need a lesson? And then they say, not so much the usual on the range. I just want to talk about the mental side of the game. And what goes down after that?
Yeah, it's happening definitely a lot more as people realize what my background is. And I'm new to this area. I've only been here now about almost 3 years. So it's still, getting the word out. But I would say a good 15-20% of people want to talk about that, and they want to get out on the course. But then when they hear I have a sports psychology master's and background, then they're like, oh, maybe at the end of our series, we can go work on this area a little bit more. I just ran a 6-session series for a local high school boys team. We did 6 sessions last year, and they wanted to come back and do it again. So that was the whole focus. But if I were to work on that and we had time to go to the course, that's where I go. It's where the game's played. And so I would go out there, watch and listen to some of the ideas and shots. maybe put them in a situation where it kind of simulates a little bit of perceived pressure. Remember, pressure is always perceived. I had a 6-year-old, side note, once fall down on the ground after missing a putt going, oh, the pressure. And I said, where's this coming from? I don't see anyone sitting on your chest. And it was just fun, the perceived pressure that we're experiencing. It is just perception, right? And worrying about the result. So I think that's pretty important there.
Do you ever have a lesson where there's no golf involved? You're not on the golf course. You're not on the range. You're just in an office somewhere, and you're just talking through the thought process, the pre-shot routine?
More of it's outside, unless I have a poor weather day and someone's like, hey, let's just go inside and discuss this. I still want to do the lesson, but while it's raining, let's go in and talk about it or whatnot. So most of it is out there because I want to incorporate that. I've had a lot of role models, Dr. Rick Jensen and Tim Creamer, but my biggest are Pia Nilsson and Lynn Marriott with Vision 54. I love them so much and what they do. So I'm a big believer in think box and play box and memory box and how you segment those. And my master's degree was on pre-shot routine and the timing of it. I love talking about the timing. I was messaging with Pia last week after their new pace of play manual just came out. Love that. Can't wait to delve into that. But the timing of a routine. So I want to see that out there, and then we'll actually break it down and we'll work at the range. We'll work at the short game area with a lot of the training tools I have in those areas. So how are you committing and thinking? How are you actually stepping into the play box where you're playing? There's no thinking in that area. And then after, in the memory box, how do you choose to store your memories? You've got 3 ways: positive, neutral, or negative. 2 of them are going to be effective, right? So how you choose to think about what just happened is going to affect the round. It's either going to be great or you're going to kind of continue to spiral. So I like mixing it up a lot.
So tell me this, the pre-shot routine and the timing of it, are you talking about an actual time you want to be consistent, like say 10 seconds? Walk me through that. Maybe I'm not sure what you're saying.
Good question. So the time it is your turn to hit until the time you start the swing is what I did in my pre-shot timing. So that needs to be pretty consistent. How many people come up to me in a golf lesson and go, Nicole, I want to be more consistent? And that actually starts in how you step up into the shots, like a Linus blanket. It's just very comforting and you go through the ropes. A lot of times I see young kids now at even age 5 and 6 going through a very robotic one. So I'm not sure if they're living it or if they just do it because they have to. But in my thesis, we cut time out or we added time to people's routines based on what they needed or didn't need. Because most people fill their head with too much junk as we're going into a shot. So I would time them, and then I would time them on the course without telling them which one I'm timing. And we'd look at the time and go, you did better when you were less, or you did better when you were a little bit more. So it's something when I do a presentation, I'll give them an example of the routine, the physical part I can see, and the mental and emotional part that I can't see, but it goes together. And then I'll have them fill it out and have them list what kind of time they think they're doing.
I heard something similar with Jack Nicklaus, although he didn't know he wasn't a willing participant. It was going on and he didn't know it. I think it was the CBS network just told him what it was doing. And all of his pre-shot routines were in like 1/10 of a second, like that consistent. And his response was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that the goal though? Is to have it so routine that it's not even a thought. It's just boom.
It is. Yeah. You want to have a fairly consistent routine because then things are similar. So one of the citations I gave, and I can't remember which study it was, but when you looked at the players who were finishing top of the money list that week, their routines will vary by less than a second. And those at the bottom of the money list are varying by over 5 seconds. And I'll never forget watching golf on TV a little bit after I did this thesis. And Tiger had been playing great on the front 9, and the back 9, he wasn't as good. And the announcer said his routine is a lot longer than it was on the front. So maybe they were timing him. So yeah, people then maybe think too much or they don't think enough. And if that timing changes, you get out of your rhythm. I mean, players are, those players are kind of have a cadence, how they get back and how they step into the shot. I take 6 steps into my shot. If it's 8, it's weird. So there's a rhythm in which you start the shot actually before the shot, how you pace yourself into the shot. So the timing was really, really interesting.
That is because to me, when I hear taking longer, you're thinking too much. You're indecisive about what you want to do, and just having too many thoughts in your head is just a recipe for disaster. And I talked with Dr. Bob Winters about this, and I said, what should a player be thinking about once they really step into a ball? Because my experience is like when I'm playing well, and I'm pretty sure like a lot of tour pros, they're not thinking at all. They did all the thinking prior to the shot, discussing it with their caddy, and then they're into the routine. The muscle memory is coming out. What do you tell your students when what they should be thinking about or not thinking about, like the moment when they're settling in?
That is a really good question. It's going to be really different. That's the fun part, what works for everybody. So to me, there's more than the mental game. There's the emotional game. I did a lot of work with Tim Kramer before he passed on that emotional aspect. So the emotions actually kick in before the mental game. And most people don't work on emotions. I was working with a group of guys about a month ago, and I said, gentlemen, we got to talk today about some feelings. And they were like, oh gosh. And I'm like, have you ever had anger? Yeah, frustration, nervousness, fear, doubt. And I'm like, we got to deal with that stuff before you even get to the mental and physical part. So, muscle memory is kind of misnomer. There aren't brains in our muscles. So we learn neurologically through our mind, and it transfers into the feel. And if we do enough repetition, we have the feel of it, which we have to keep fresh. It's like, like a garden. You have to keep everything growing fresh. So I would like to have people not think over a shot, but I want to have them sense. So it's not the think box, it's the play box. You can have an image, you can have a feel, you can have a sound, right? For me, it's balance and rhythm. I want to hear me rip the grass on an iron shot. So I'm not thinking how to do it. I just want to hear that rip. I want to feel the rip. So you can have a sensory experience in the play box. You cannot have a cognitive one. A friend of mine, Dr. Debbie Cruz, works at ASU, and she does a lot of studies. Some of them have gone over to the Mayo Clinic. She did a really cool one with Alan Alda back in the day on putting. But she'll hook up LPGA players to all the headgear, and then she asks them to think about processing and their performance drops. So, it takes 8 steps to tie a shoelace. And at this point, we pretty much do it. But if you start thinking, then you get all, tied up there. So I ask a student, I go, hey, what are you about to enjoy? You have to start the sentence with, I can't wait to, or I am going to look forward to smashing this down the middle, ripping the grass, balancing my finish, watching it soar. So I want that quick image. I'm like, let's go do it. Go, off you go.
That's what I do. I figure once I pictured the shot in my mind's eye in the noodle knows what to do, and then it just sort of happens. And I want to hit it before the brain starts kicking in. The cognitive stuff am I saying it right? Am I making sense there?
Yeah, the cognitive stuff, the left brain, the processing computer will start kind of working in. Over the shot, you've got about a 4 to 9 second window, and that is it. And because that's when the brain, our attention span is not much more than 8 seconds before everything kind of goes again. So that time frame is pretty good. But the thing is, add that word in there. I want to enjoy bumping up and whatever it's going to be. That's the emotional bump up that we actually have to insert into the shot. I want to hit it down the middle is great, but I can't wait to enjoy hitting it down the middle. It kind of shifts that emotion into something you're about to look forward to doing. And you should look forward to hitting a shot. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's a want to. It's not a have to. It's like, I want to read this book as opposed to I have to read this book. That's why as adults, we enjoy reading more than we did as students, because when we were students, we had to. Want to. That was a part of the initial golf psychology that I had as a result of Jay Hardwick's speaking to the junior golf program and everything. The guy was talking about want tos. Say you want to do something as I have to get this up and down. I want to get this up and down. It just lightens the load a little bit. I think that's cool. So for the golfers that are coming to you and they're just, they want more than just the physical instruction. They want a little bit more of the game management and the golf psychology. Tell me, are they younger or are they older?
Yeah, honestly, my clientele has changed. So where I am now, it is mostly adults. I will have some competitive youngsters come in from within about an hour if they find me on the website or different areas to resource me. But they will do more skills. And then when we get out on the course, I'll kind of slide that in and work a little bit on their pre-shots and their timing and what they'd like to do. to get into the shot. When we have a class like the high schoolers, that was awesome because we had an agenda and we worked on different tasks. But, it's interesting, Kevin, even at a young age, I think that, schools need to be working with intrapersonal skills, not inter. Intra being within ourselves, how to manage ourselves at age 4 and 5 and 6. I remember working with a 5-year-old back in Savannah, and we talked about what color he felt over a shot. What color made him feel like powerful or good? So maybe it's a yellow color. Then I asked him to put a bubble. I imagined him trying to grow that yellow bubble as big as he could. And then he said, oh, it popped. I said, all right, let's start it again. Let's grow that bubble again. So even at a really young age, you can have these great little ways to start managing yourself. So right now for me, it's mostly adults, but I do get a great handful of youngsters that come in and want to do it. And then we got to switch the age appropriateness of it.
And the pictures that they do, the balloons and some other images that they can get along with. I mentioned earlier that I like to meditate. It's really more hypnosis, but actually they're one and the same. What are your thoughts on meditation or hypnosis? Have you indulged?
I have not in hypnosis. I think for some people who are open to it, that could work super well. Meditation is great. Tim Creamer was big into meditation. I like meditation because I think we need to reset ourselves. I think it's, there's so much in the world that's trying to pull at us, especially social media and digital world, that quieting ourselves and resetting and having time for our minds to kind of free float a little bit is important. I've done some energy work myself, and so I love it. I had an amazing experience once with that where something broke through, and it was shocking when I let myself kind of go into that in between state. So I think as a person, you have to know what works for you adrenaline wise. When I went and trained with Pia and Lynn in Scottsdale, anytime I can go out to visit with them, it's like Christmas times 10. They are just so cool. But I learned, which was surprising, that I need more adrenaline before a shot. If I do a couple of jumping jacks, get the heart rate up, I do better. A lot of people need to chill out. So I think it depends on what works best for your adrenaline. And that's a really fun task to explore. And they have so many wonderful cards and games I use, and people will flip a card up and go, okay, I've got to work on this. Give me 5 jumping jacks before your shot. How do you do? This one is take 2 deep breaths. How do you do? So we start helping them find their truths to what works. But I think meditation is really good. It helps you kind of steer where you want to go and what feels good. You always want to go for what feels better.
You want a special feel as you settle in before you pull the trigger. For me, there's a lot of breathing involved, and it's always through the nose, because you get it's just a more efficient breath that way. And I know that because I've read a book about it. It's called Breath. It is one of the best books I ever read, and it was read by Phil Mickelson before he won the PGA Championship at age 50. And I figured if it's good enough for Phil, it's good enough for me. Nestor, I think, wrote that. I'm forgetting his last name. Nicole Weller is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. She is an LPGA and PGA golf professional, native of Massachusetts, good player, great teacher, author of a couple of books. Nicole, tell me this. If there's one mental tip that you could, and I asked you this before about like one golf tip, what is the one thing, but one mental tip that would help anybody, share with us, what would that be?
Well, it's going to be a mental/emotional one. I want people to think about at best what's about to come up. At best, this shot's going to be here. This shot's going to play there. I'm going to feel this. So I have people start out with those 2 words, at best, because most people start out with at worst. What's going to happen? I hope I don't want to do this. Make sure I do this. And at this point, you have to have a good image. It's kind of like, cooking or baking something, and you don't imagine it turning out awful. You imagine what it's going to smell like at best, and I can't wait to eat this, or it's going to look great. So you've got to change the channel and come up with at best what's going to happen here. And if your mind goes into the gutter with at worst, then you just change the channel. Make a little symbol, hit the remote, fake a remote, and change it and go back to what's going to happen here at best. What am I looking forward to doing?
Seeing that ball roll right in the middle of the hole at perfect speed. That's what I'm looking for.
That's a good sound. Yeah.
Oh, and listen to that sound. Yeah, I think there's some recordings of that. The sound when it goes in.
Great notification on a phone. Wouldn't that your phone notification? That would be a good sound.
Yeah, good sounds. I heard some sounds during our conversation. Was there a kitty cat hanging out somewhere or other?
She was downstairs, yes, waiting
Who
for her
is
evening
that?
treat. That's my little Jada down there. My hubby Ty and Jada are downstairs. So Ty's a PGA member, so he's helping out our cat down there.
Okay, cool. Hey, Nicole, really enjoy the conversation. I wish you good success in the rest of the spring and on into the summer. And be a friend of the program. Just come on back anytime you want, and we'll find something else interesting to talk about. Sound good to you?
I'd be honored. Thanks, Kevin. You got it. Anytime.
All right. Big thanks to the Golf Real Estate Pros, Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com. If you're looking to buy a place in the greater Sarasota area, like Lakewood National Golf Club, give Vince or Gene a call. They'll get you all set up. And if you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Party drinks for golfers by golfers. For Nicole Weller, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.